Well, it's been a whole year since the release of The Last of Us Part 2, so let's go ahead and talk about it. This is Kuro, and welcome to my room. So it's been a whole year since the release of The Last of Us Part 2, and honestly, it's been an interesting development to see this game just kind of go from the what is this gonna game gonna be like to everything that happened. You know, how people reacted to the game, how people reacted to the rumors, the leaks, the game itself, a lot of the things that happened in the game. And it's just really interesting to see from a perspective of somebody that was a really big fan of The Last of Us, especially Last of Us, the series and everything, kind of seeing how that evolved over time. Yeah, personally, I enjoy the game. I think The Last of Us and The Last of Us Part 2 are great games. However, I did have some issues with The Last of Us Part 2, and looking back into like a whole year, I have not touched the game since I played it last year, and I still have a lot of feelings. I still have a lot of things that I kind of delve into, like how much I think about how much that game kind of like impacted me. Just thinking back on it, it really did a lot of good stuff or interesting stuff. Just kind of thinking about how much it really changed the way I thought about games, particularly The Last of Us series. It really just changed me in that aspect. Frankly don't even want more of The Last of Us. I think that personally, I feel like the first game, just The Last of Us Part 1, would have been a good way to kind of just have that set, you know, like one game, that's all. We don't get another game or anything like that, and that really would have been fine with me. I think that could have easily just kind of been the end of the game. And the fact that not only did they tried really hard to kind of make another game, but really just introduce new characters and kind of like like interconnecting story between the two different main storylines and everything. I think it could have worked better. I think there's a lot of aspects of it that really kind of bother me, the way that they try to do the storytelling in this game. And full disclosure here, there's going to be spoilers on this if I haven't already mentioned this. So if you haven't played the game, definitely click away. If you don't care, you know, obviously you can continue watching this. But one of the biggest things is, I know Abby, a lot of people did not like Abby. I think that maybe like 90% of the people that play the game and the game really makes it seem in the first part of the game like Abby is this horrible human being that did this really bad thing wrong, and everybody will feel bad for that. Will feel angry. I think that was on purpose. I think that was the way of kind of doing storytelling to make you feel like this horrible human being just did something really, really wrong, and that you should feel upset about it. However, the attempt to kind of make her a more redeeming character over time, once they've developed her story, I think that it was just poorly done, poorly executed, if you may. I feel like what they should have done, and I mentioned this a couple times already in podcast, but I really feel like they should have just split the character into another character altogether. Basically, have the storyline do before the story of the other protagonist, which is Ellie. Ellie was a really good character, really well done, and even in this game, the so much choices that she makes are very human choices, especially when you are, or where she's at the end of the game. You really kind of feel that there's just so much going on in her life that she really just can't move on from that. And I just kind of like the dynamic between the two different characters and the two different stories. I don't think it's really, again, well executed. I feel like they really wanted to have this two dichotomies between these two different characters kind of clashing together and kind of just develop into a story of kind of like not only just kind of like forgiveness, but like kind of like being able to grow in this horrible world, because the world itself is just horrible. Everybody, I think, in this game is not a good human. Like, if you really think about it, Joel was not a good person. I mean, nobody in this game is truly a pure good human being. I think everybody has to do some pretty shitty choices and I don't know, this is debatable, right? Whether you do the right thing or not, I think it's always debatable for the eyes of the player. You kind of think about the choices that the characters make in any game, not just this one, but really any kind of game. If you really think about it, there are some choices that the consequences of those choices affect other people's lives, other people's families, and that's something that really you don't think about. Like the first time that I ever played The Last of Us, it never really crossed my mind. I'm like, oh, all these people that Joel is killing, they all have families, they all have siblings, they all have daughters, sons, wives, they all have a life that affect other human beings. And the choices that your character, the main protagonist, makes, not only does it affect your personal, like his personal life, but also everybody else is around him, not only just the people that he killed, but their families, their friends. There's all these different dynamics that are really well thought out. However, the execution of it is just really never really pan out the way that it's supposed to do. I think that the message is there. It's just really heavy handed, and it doesn't really pan out the way that I think they were trying to execute it. I feel like I understand the message, but at the same time, I feel angered that it wasn't properly executed. Personally, again, as I mentioned before, I feel like this could have been something that they could have started that way. They could have started with Abby's story and just kind of move on to Ellie's story. Maybe going back and forth between both of them, maybe like episode 1 and episode, like going between both of them back and forth, and maybe just have like a line where both of them kind of like encounter each other, and that's when the thing happened. Another issue that I had in this particular game is in the pacing of the game. There is a couple of different points in the story where I found it to be really exhausting. Not in the man, this is tiresome, more like the exhausting kind of like there's just too much going on. I really feel like a break was needed, and the game kind of shows you a break, but not really, because I'm like, haha, you thought it was a break, but no, here's like more stuff. There's like the game gains momentum, and it just kind of breaks off the momentum, and it just kind of runs with it faster and harder, and every single time that you feel like the characters are kind of like finally getting a break, it doesn't really occur. And it happens many times through the game that it's almost debatable whether I like it or not, because I just really feel like it doesn't really work out for this game. The impact is just because there's too much impact. I feel like you as a player just start kind of getting numb to the impact because there's just too much happening at once, and then by the end of the game you're feeling so tired and so exhausted. This is like too much going on that it's just kind of like, yeah, I beat the game, but at what cost? How much did it really impacted me? How much did it really just affected me because of everything going on? Everything is just too much sometimes. I think it's cool, but at the same time, I feel like the last like 3 hours of the game were definitely over exaggerated. There was just too much going on in the last hours that I'm kind of like, I cannot even enjoy the new areas that we're in, the new world that we are looking at, the new factions. There's like these new factions going on, and they're like doing their own stuff and everything, and none of it is even properly executed, because at that point you're not there for exploration. You're not there to getting to know these new factions. What are they doing? Who's the bad guys? Who's the good guys? What are they doing over there? They're like taking other humans as slaves and everything, and like all this stuff is established there, but because of everything that else is going on, you're not really able to kind of learn and execute of what the thing is, because that's not the focus of it. And at the end of the day, it really made me feel super exhausted. The end of the game it broke me almost. It made me cry, and kind of like thinking about it just makes me really kind of like, I'm like, wow, it really was a terrible ending. I didn't know like oh man, that was a bad ending. More like it was sad. Like it was really demoralizing to the point I'm like, yeah, you got your revenge, or you tried to get your revenge, but at what cost? It was really exhausting. I think it was a really exhausting game. I don't think I'm ever going to replay it again. I think that the first like 10 hours of the game are really easily like the best 10 hours of the game. It's just really well executed. The story is from point to point is really active. The new gameplay is really good. The new graphics are really good. Like they improved a lot of different stuff. I love all the crazy stuff that you can do with the game. I love all the stuff that they kind of like put together in there, that it really shows that it's a really masterfully created game. Like there's a lot of thought put into the gameplay, a lot into the new mechanics. The graphics again are really fantastic. It's one of the easily one of the best looking games of the PS4 generation. It's really good looking, but at the same time I found it so exhausting and just so much to kind of like think over that it really didn't make me feel like I was really enjoying the game at times. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. This is just an interesting video to think about because I really did like a lot of the parts of The Last of Us Part 2, but it really had me conflicted whether I actually liked the game itself. I don't know if that makes sense at all. Anyway, thanks so much for watching this. If you're new, please consider liking and subscribing. Let me know in the comments below what you think about all this. Did you like The Last of Us Part 2? Did you not like the game? What did you like or didn't like about it? Thank you so much for watching this, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.